Let's talk about coming out of the spiritual closet. So in this video, I want to share my story about my spiritual awakening, the journey I've been on, where it's led me, and all the things that I've learned along the way from remembering my spirituality. But first, before I dive into all that, it's important to understand where I started from because I was the furthest thing from spiritual that you could possibly be. I put off making this video for a long time because talking about spirituality or religion made me uncomfortable. I never considered myself to be spiritual or religious. In fact, my entire life, I considered myself to be atheist or at most agnostic. And this really stems from all of the religious trauma that I experienced growing up in the LDS church. So I was raised LDS, I was baptized LDS in the Mormon church, the Mormon cult, if you will, because it is a cult, but that's a topic for another video. But by the time I was old enough to think for myself, I was so traumatized by the indoctrinated beliefs and shame that I experienced in the LDS church that I wanted nothing to do with religion. I had no faith, I didn't believe in anything. And not only that, I have always been, a very left brain, type A, evidence-based, fact-based person, right? I'm a lawyer. Like if I don't have the evidence and the facts, I don't believe it. In fact, I majored in philosophy, so I have my bachelor's degree in philosophy. I graduated #1 in my class, received the Dean's Scholarship and the Outstanding Student in Philosophy Award, and I wrote several theses on this exact topic. I took a philosophy of religion course and I wrote an entire thesis on why every argument, every theory for the existence of God fails. I wrote another thesis on pseudoscience bullshit, criticizing spirituality and crystals and astrology and all that woo-woo bullshit nonsense, okay? So I share all this with you to make the point that I was the furthest thing from spiritual you could possibly be. Like I was the biggest skeptic, the biggest non-believer that you could possibly be. So I want you to keep that in mind as you watch the rest of this video because everything that I share with you, I know it to be true from my personal experience. Like everything that I have learned in my journey, I know it to be true from what I have experienced. And the key things that I've learned in this journey are, one, reality is not as we have been told. Right? We are not physical beings, physical bodies living in a physical 3D reality. We are energetic, spiritual, non-physical beings experiencing, observing a physical reality. So this means that everything is energy. And when you actually grasp this, like actually understand this concept, it changes everything because you realize you are literally the creator of your reality. Second, spirituality is not something you believe in. Spirituality is a frequency you're either tuned into or tuned out of. Again, everyone is spiritual, everyone. There's not a single person on this earth that's not spiritual. It's just whether you remember it or not, whether you are consciously aware and consciously remember your true nature or not. And third, God is real. I have to even breathe in as I say that because this is something that would have been so hard for me to say in the past. But God is real. God is everywhere. It is everything. And notice I said it. God is not a man. God is not a woman. God is not an entity or a being, something out there. God is everything. God is energy. This refrigerator behind me is God. Those shelves are God. I am God. This phone is God. You are God. Like God is this eternal oneness, this eternal energy source that created everything, this great spirit that created everything. And everything that you see in the physical reality, including you, including me, is the physical manifestation of that infinite oneness, that infinite energy source, that infinite God. And fourth, magic is real, miracles are real, synchronicity is real, manifestation is real. Again, it's just that we're not conscious enough or aware enough to see the magic and the miracles that are happening around us every single day. So how did I go from being a skeptic, non-believer, atheist to remembering my true spiritual nature? Like many people, it started with trauma. So in January 2024, I began having flashbacks of some traumatic things that happened to me when I was only 2 years old. And this ripped the rug out from under my life. It shook the foundation of my whole life, my whole conception of myself, what I thought I knew about me, my family, everything. And it put me in just such a dark place. Like I was completely depressed. It put me into this dark night of the soul where I was forced to look for answers. Like I had never even considered myself as having a soul. But because of this trauma that came up, it triggered something in me that intuitively knew I needed healing at the soul level, which was so strange because I never even thought of myself as having a soul. So I found a Reiki practitioner, and again, I had never heard of Reiki. I had never thought about trying it. I didn't even know what a chakra was, and this was less than 2 years ago. So I did this Reiki session, and the practitioner knew some really profound things that I never even told her. And she gave me, this whole page of notes about, my different energy centers and why they were blocked. And it just got me so curious into this whole realm that I had never even explored before about myself and my inner energy and my soul. So from there, I went and did ayahuasca, which ayahuasca is the thing that triggered my awakening. If there's one single thing that really triggered my awakening, really connected me with my spirituality, it was ayahuasca. Because ayahuasca connected me with God. Again, I didn't believe there was a God. And from doing ayahuasca, I experienced God. I experienced that infinite energy, that infinite oneness. And what it showed me is that infinite energy source that I was saying is God, that energy is love. So God is love. We are all made of love. That is what ayahuasca showed me. And not only that, it just expanded my consciousness, my creativity. It made me realize there's so many possibilities in the world. It made me realize we are not just physical bodies. There's a whole other dimension that we just don't see. And that's what psychedelics and plant medicines do. They open your consciousness to different dimensions. So ayahuasca really showed me my true nature, which is love. We are all made of love. It reconnected me to myself, my heart, to God. It showed me my greater purpose in life. And as I went back to working at my corporate job after my ayahuasca retreat, I just felt more and more disconnected. I didn't feel that I was living in alignment with my true self and my true purpose, which is ultimately why I decided to quit my job. And from there, I just started, noticing all these signs and synchronicities that took me on this incredible journey, right? I went to Bali, I found this breath work that I absolutely love, which I would have never done before. And then I started doing breath work, and it just opened all these doors, and I began meeting all these people just from following all these signs and synchronicities that I was never consciously aware of before. But because now my consciousness was so expanded and I felt more connected to my true self, to my spiritual nature, to God, I was noticing all of the doors and the magic and the synchronicities that were all around me. It's like that quote from Albert Einstein that's there's only two ways to live your life. One is as if nothing is a miracle, and one is as if everything is a miracle. And that is what being spiritual does. When you're spiritual, you understand that everything around you is a miracle. You understand that all the signs and the synchronicities in your life are miracles. And this journey that I've been on this past year to, doing breath work in Bali and finding my place here in Venice and meeting all these people, it's all because I found my spirituality. And that doesn't mean there hasn't been hardships along the way, because there's been a lot of them. This spiritual path is not fucking easy. There's a lot of shit that you have to deal with and work through that would be otherwise easier to just ignore and to push down. But when you are reconnected with your spirituality, it's like this anchor that holds you through any hardship. You can get through anything because you are everything. You are God. You are everything that ever existed. So your hardships just become lessons, you know what I mean? You see things in a different perspective, and you understand that life is happening for you and through you, not to you. Life is happening for you. Every single hardship that you face is happening for your benefit. And people don't want to admit that or realize that sometimes, because you get trapped in this victim mindset, or it's how could this horrible thing that happened to me be for my benefit? It's because it's what your soul chose to come here to learn. Okay, again, we are all spiritual beings. We all have a soul that came here to learn something. So if you start to look at every hardship that comes in your life as a lesson, everything changes. You're just the observer, you're the consciousness moving through the lesson, moving through the hardship. You're gonna make it through, and you're gonna be better because of it. Once you start to have this mindset and you're connected and you're grounded in your spirituality and yourself, life becomes a lot easier. This is what it means to be spiritual. It just means that you're more yourself. I am more authentically myself now than I have ever been in my entire life. I love myself, and I feel more connected to myself now than I have ever in my entire life. I'm happier now than I've ever been. and my true nature just shines through. My authenticity just shines through. Not only that, when you're connected to who you really are, your true beauty shines through. Like, I feel like I look younger. I feel more beautiful physically because I'm connected to my authentic self. So this is why I want to share my story. A big part of my message is to remind people that we are all spiritual beings. We are all literally made of magic. We are all literally made of this love energy, this infinite oneness. We are all literally God. We all have this infinite power source moving through us. And it's not just some weird woo-woo spiritual like nonsense, it's reality. And once you remember it, once you remember your true nature, you become unstoppable. This is the foundation of manifestation, is remembering that you are a spiritual being, you are energy, and you have unlimited power to manifest your reality. Life becomes lighter. You're filled with more love and more connection. So it's like, why would everyone not want to live this way? So if you have questions, like if you're curious whether you're spiritual already, whether you're like completely atheist like I was, or whether you're like on the fence, like maybe I'm spiritual, I don't know, like reach out, because I want to help people on the way. Like I want to be this beacon of light that inspires others to reclaim their spirituality, because ultimately it's reclaiming your sovereignty. It's reclaiming your authenticity. That's all it is. That's all it means to be spiritual, is that you remember who you are. So that's it. Now that I'm out of the spiritual closet, you'll see a lot more content like this from me. I'm going to go a lot deeper on a lot of the topics that I briefly touched on in this video. So be sure to follow me on Instagram at The Blonde Lotus, and don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube at Blonde Lotus. Thank you all so much. Love you.